Rockbeard presents 10 stories of people who died and came back to life. My father had a terrible motorcycle accident and practically destroyed both of his femurs. He died 4 times on the way to the hospital and required 23 blood transfusions over the next several hours. He said he didn't remember what happened with his body because he wasn't there. He was sitting somewhere really warm that felt very familiar and talking to some of his older family members. He said when he would try to stand up to join the circle of his loved ones, one of them would come over and push him back down. They would tell him he shouldn't be so eager to join them and that it wasn't time for him to go yet, since he still needed to take care of his family. When he tried to get up one last time, he was pushed so hard that he felt like he'd blacked out. When he woke up, he was in the ICU at the hospital. Number 9. I was standing in front of a giant wall of light. It stretched up, down, left and right as far as I could see. It was kind of like putting your eyes 6 inches from a fluorescent light bulb. The next memory I have is waking up in the hospital. Number 8. My father suffered a severe stroke in his mid-20s and died for a short period. He described it as a warm, calm light getting brighter around him and felt a familiar and friendly presence. He came to consciousness a few days later and couldn't remember anything but that feeling for a while. Apparently, he heard his friend's voice echoing as well. Number 7. When I coded, I couldn't remember a sensation of floating, but I was able to recall things in detail that happened while I was dead on the other side of the room. No white lights, no dead relatives, nobody telling me to go back, but I was definitely able to see things that in no way were visible from where my body was. I remember speaking and being angry because nobody would answer me. My mother told me, "You didn't say anything. You were dead." Number 6. I do remember a little bit of the ambulance ride, but not from my body. It was the strangest thing I had ever experienced. I saw my body completely flatlined in the ambulance. I remember the EMT who was in the ambulance with me, and I asked him when I regained consciousness about 3 days later. Number 5. I collapsed at a work meeting in February 2014 and had no pulse or cardiac rhythm for about 5 minutes. My last recorded memory was from about an hour prior to the incident, and my next memory was from 2 days later when I emerged from a medically induced coma. Evidently, I regained consciousness a half day before my brain started recording new memories, so I kept repeating the same 3 questions for hours on end. Eventually, my wife and friends started making up best answers because they hated seeing the fear in my face when they explained what actually happened. Number 4. My mom had a brain aneurysm that was nearly fatal. The doctors told us that she was gonna die. She later related that after several hours of terrible pain, she only felt peace. She described a lightness of being and relaxed happiness. The first words she spoke to me when she awoke were, "Isn't it so sad about Michelangelo?" Number 3. Several years back, my cousin died on the operating table and was revived after a few minutes. She described it as peaceful, but there was also a strong sense of welcoming and love. She said it felt like coming home. She's fine and healthy now and knows it wasn't her time, but she's completely unafraid of death now, based on those few minutes. Number 2. I collapsed during a class presentation one day. I quit breathing and my blood was not circulating in my body. I felt as if I was plummeting down an endless hole. I heard my classmates crying out for help. I was revived and still have no memory of a small amount of the time before my death or the moments immediately after I was revived. Number 1. I was getting an angiogram and watching the screen. While talking to the doctor, alarms started to go off and everyone became panicked. The next thing I knew, my world became soft and foggy and everything faded to black. The next thing I remember was opening my eyes and hearing my doctor say, we got him back. Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Rockbeard.